concerns, they will expedite that concern and apply or reply to that within a certain amount of days. All right, a little bit further information on licensing. The state has put in an abundant amount of regulations, so much more so than I've seen with any other type of product. They will be requiring any applicant to be, of course, 21 years of age. They will require descriptions, disclosures, business plans, funding sources, background checks, and input, of course, from the LGU. As I previously stated, certain businesses will need to register with the city, town, or county, and those would be any retail business, and that includes cannabis meso businesses with retail endorsements and cannabis micro businesses with retail endorsements. Regarding compliance with the licensing, the OCM will be investigating any violations. They will also issue any administrative orders, license suspensions, and revocations, and they will be the body that conducts any appeal hearings. All right, registration, which is more pertinent to what the county may encounter. As I previously stated, it's to the city and towns, but they may authorize the county to do it instead. The local government unit can do a compliance inspection prior to the business opening, and after it's open, they are required to do annual inspections regarding age verification, applicable limits of cannabis products, flowers, and all of that, and to make sure that everything is verified. Now, as I stated, the local government unit can suspend a registration, but it has to let the OCM know within 30 days, and the OCM could require the LGU to reinstate that registration. An ordinance could be adopted for the registering agent. We can charge registration fees, penalties, limit the hours of retail, again, the manner, place, time restrictions, and minimum distances from youth-oriented locations. What is allowed to be consumed? You have to be 21. You can share with another 21-year-old, but you can't get anything back from it. So no exchanges of product. You can possess and transport within legal limits. I have put on there kind of what those are. You can also grow 8 plants within your property. You're allowed to use it within your private residence. You can use it on private property unless you're explicitly prohibited. And you can use in a licensed premises or at a licensed event. At this time, use in public places is allowed unless the local government unit adopts an ordinance restricting some of that, and you will hear more about that today. What is prohibited? Again, you can't sell to an under 21-year-old, you can't consume it in vehicles, you can't smoke it in indoor places, in schools, state correctional facilities. The one exception is you can, as long as it's not smoking, vaping, or aerosolizing, you are allowed to have that in schools if it's medical and in correctional facilities and in vehicles. So that would be the one exception. Again, can't operate a vehicle under the influence. You can't extract cannabis concentrate, can't give as a promotion. The one big thing that's interesting is you cannot smoke, aerosolize, or vape where it could be inhaled by minors. So they've added that extra layer of protection. Okay, a little bit more on cultivation. A person who is 21 years of age and owns the property would be allowed to grow 8 plants. Only 4 can be mature at a time. Must be within an enclosed, locked area, as long as it's not viewable by the public. Okay, and then cultivation by a business. If it is, the Department of Ag will be adopting rules with the OCM regarding certification, testing, and labeling requirements. They will also be coming up with best use practices. So when it comes to cultivating that product, there will be additional things to come. All right, the next big thing that we will have some control over is a cannabis event. That technically is still licensed by the state. It's a temporary license. Again, it will be limited to 21 years of age or older. They will have to meet certain standards, and no alcohol or tobacco consumption will be allowed in the consumption area for cannabis. What will happen with those cannabis events is they will need to show local approval of the event. They will also need to show local approval of on-site consumption, so we'll have some control there. They will also need to make sure that it meets all of our requirements regarding permits and licensing. So that could be the large exhibition ordinance, that could be the road authority permit. All right, taxes. There will be a 10% tax on gross receipts. If they purchase it out of state, they will be required to pay in state. They're really trying to incentivize people to buy local. The exemption will be if you carry across an aggregate of $100 worth of product. Regarding real property, it will be considered Class 3 commercial and industrial property. All right, of that gross receipts tax, there will be a local government cannabis aid fund set up. 20% of all those gross receipts will come to local governments. The counties will receive 50% and the cities will receive 50%. 20% of the county's share will automatically go to every county, and then the additional 80% will be distributed amongst the counties with the most businesses. So it will be proportional to what you have. So they are also incentivizing counties to allow businesses to occur. All right, as I stated earlier, we do have the ability to adopt county ordinances to kind of control some of the cannabis. Zoning, at a minimum, we can adopt place, time, and manner restrictions like we do with adult uses. We can also put restrictions on hours of retail sales. The other piece that we can adopt is distances from youth-oriented facilities like we do with the tobacco ordinance. Public consumption. Again, I stated this earlier. We may prohibit the consumption of cannabis product in public, and it would be a petty misdemeanor. And then in addition to that, we could also amend our large exhibition ordinance. Now, if we are given consent to register, then we would probably want to do an overall ordinance that's comprehensive regarding all of those requirements. And as it's been noted before, we would have the ability to limit retail businesses if you wanted. So there would be additional incentive to adopt an ordinance if we register. All right. As Johanna mentioned, there will be implications for employers. We will need to update our written policies regarding testing and who has to test and what the implications are. So these are the positions that we need to test, and if it's found in their system, it would still be considered an offense because federal law, of course, still restricts the use of cannabis. All right, they are busy working on educational programs as well. They will be targeting schools, youth, pregnant women, individuals that breastfeed, and then home visiting programs, so that will be occurring over the next couple of years. Firearms, this has been a change. Right now, we're not allowed to issue a permit to carry if we know that they're using on a medical registry. That is changing. You can't disqualify someone from owning and possessing firearms or ammunition. You cannot deny a permit to carry and you cannot restrict them from purchasing, owning, possessing, or transporting. However, this does create a conundrum that the federal law still considers cannabis an illegal product. So that will create an issue for the sheriff's office, and they are busy working on it at the head level to see what we will need to do about that. All right, next steps, consider ordinances, what we want to do. I will let you know that the OCM will be coming up with model policies, model ordinances, model registration applications. So that is forthcoming. So once we have that additional information, we can also take a look at that. As I mentioned earlier, you would have the option of adopting an interim ordinance restricting businesses from establishing themselves. However, we are hearing that it will be about 18 months before they've got licensing up and going. In the meantime, we can also consider development code amendments and large exhibition ordinance amendments. Any questions?
Probably none of them that could get answered today.
Thank you for your time in putting that together. That obviously
Yeah.
took some effort. Any questions
Could I ask
for
Michelle a question? Michelle,
Absolutely.
could you comment on the number of registered retail establishments that may occur within the jurisdiction?
Yep. So countywide, it is a minimum of 1 per 12,500 people. Now that limitation only applies to your cannabis retailers, your cannabis mezzo businesses, and micro businesses with retail endorsements. So it won't necessarily limit your medical retailers, but we would have the ability to limit those.
Commissioner Schlangen, do you have a comment?
Yes, I have one question.
Yep.
Do you know how much THC is in a leaf, or how much is that 800 milligrams?
I don't know, sorry.
Troy, do you know?
I can't tell you how much THC is gonna be in a leaf. I think the milligrams they're referring to is edibles, and most of the, well, if they're compliant with state law about packaging, there is a statement on there as to how much each one contains and what the limit is. So, yeah, provided they're compliant with packaging laws, users will know how many milligrams they have in their possession.
Any other questions for Michelle? Comments? Thank you for the update.
Yep,
Thank you for the
thanks.
work put forth in that.
Thank you.
All right, Roxanne, back to you. Discussion on ordinance number 49, limiting the use of cannabis in public places.
Okay, so I'm gonna have Michelle stay up here. One of the things that goes into effect on August 1st is the legal use of cannabis. And so we wanted to bring to you a draft ordinance limiting the use in public places. And this has been a joint effort between the attorney's office, sheriff's office, public health, myself, going through this. It's a very brief and to the point ordinance. So I think you have that in front of you, and I should too. Basically limiting in any outdoor area or indoor area, whether privately or publicly owned, to which the public have access by right of invitation, expressed or implied, any park in the county, county fairgrounds, or any county-owned property. And then we go on to describe what a public place is. Now, this ordinance, the way that it is drafted, allows for cities and towns to draft their own ordinance. So if they, let's say a township park, if they wanted to draft their own ordinance and that would be in place, that would supersede this one. Or within city limits, they could draft their own. However, let's just say the county fairgrounds, just because it's in the city of Sauk Rapids, because it's county owned, our ordinance would supersede that. So we wanted to bring this forward. We've looked at a few other ordinances that are out there, and this we felt was a sufficient ordinance, but we wanted to bring this forward, get the board's opinion on whether this is something they would like to pursue. Time is of the essence, considering that we need to do, if this is what the board wishes to do, we would need to public notice this and have a public hearing, hopefully prior to the August 1st date of.
Okay.
Michelle said she's not sure if a public hearing would be required.
I
Oh.
don't believe it is.
Okay,
And
All right.
to let you know, this is quite expansive. When I talked to other jurisdictions, Sherburne County is putting it in its parks ordinance. And they're kind of limiting it to where it's going. So that is something that you can consider if you want it to be this broad of a scope, or if you want to limit it. And also, if we want, I'm not sure how much county leased property we have, but if we lease property and we have outdoor areas, that would also be something to consider as well. But I'm not sure if we actually have.
We're leasing to someone.
Well, that would be covered because it's property owned, but if we're leasing
We're
anything
leasing
that's-
from somebody
leasing
else.
from,
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean like Eastgate. Okay. That makes sense.
Commissioner Kapinski.
Mr. Chair, I think we gotta do something for an ordinance, but I think this is gonna be a moving target and it's gonna be revisited almost
after time.
monthly as this goes.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner,
you know, the city of St. Cloud already has been working on this, and I don't know if they approved it. I know it was in front of their agenda last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago. And I think they were gonna approve the same thing as what we're looking at right now.
They were adding it to their hemp licensing ordinance, so they're adding it into that portion. I haven't seen it, I did ask for it from the county attorney, and she said once it was completed, she would send it our way.
Cause I know they're restricting it to all public places.
Michelle, does it seem out of order not to have a public hearing on this?
I did take a look, while we have to have public hearings regarding zoning ordinance changes, it did not appear that there was a requirement for this particular ordinance change. If you want to have a public hearing, we absolutely can.
Okay, that was my next question.
So, Mr. Maybe Roxanne or Michelle, could you give me an example of what 9A could be in our county? 9A. I'm just curious, what would be perhaps a real world example of 9A?
It kind of covers everything. Any public area out in the county, that would cover, like a town hall, parking lot.
That town hall, okay.
Yep, a trail, anywhere that's kind of publicly invited
Okay.
area.
I was noticing the word privately because I was thinking of like the outdoor music area at Raleigh's.
Yep.
Would that be included?
Yes.
Okay. It's just what popped in my head. You drive by there a lot, so, okay.
That's the really expansive part, so if you wanted to limit it, that would be your option.
Okay.
All right, members, any other questions, or you're looking? To publish notice of is the request, isn't it?
Yeah.
We certainly can meet, discuss this further at a cow if you'd like. If you were happy with what's drafted, we can move forward with officially bringing it forward.
What are your thoughts, members of the public hearing? It seems to me that's something we would probably wanna do, but.
Yeah, I would think you don't wanna have a public hearing, and I have concerns what Monty had, whether it's private or public property.
I myself would like to talk about this a little further.
Yeah, I think we need further
Like in a cow
discussion.
setting,
I think so.
Okay. Like maybe with public health?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, too, I just wanted to add on the fairgrounds, as I understand it, technically, the fairgrounds are owned by the Benton County Agricultural Society. You might wanna include them in an invitation to get their thoughts on
Okay.
applicability of this to the fairgrounds. I can't feature they'd want this kind of consumption on the fairgrounds, but I just wanted to mention is that, as I understand it, they're owned by the Agricultural Society, what we know as the Fair Board.
okay. Well, it kinda sounds like we're on the consensus to have a cow on this then,
Yeah.
before we move forward on anything.
And Mr. Chair, we should probably do that as soon as possible too,
Yeah.
though.
We get to the cow part of the agenda,
Sure.
we'll talk
Yep.
about that.
Okay.
What do you think about that? That work out? Okay. All right, so the consensus is we'll look at a cow date for that when we get to that portion of the agenda, and we'll get that set with public health and maybe Benton County Agricultural Society. Anything else, Roxanne?
Nope.
Members, if you're willing, I see there, we are 10 minutes past, maybe what we told for ditch authority. Would you be okay if we recessed our regular meeting and went right into ditch authority here, maybe with a quick break? Would you be okay with that?
Beth is saying that we published ditch authority for 10:50.
10:50?
10:50.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
So-
thank you for the
we
correction.
can wrap this up then.
What's that?
Wrap
Let's
this
wrap
up.
Yeah,
this up.
let's,
We'll wrap it up. All right, we're gonna move on to Chris Bird, County Engineer.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I assume you're expecting me to get through in 10 minutes then?
Or less.
So- all right. Well, I will do my best. What I have before you is what's known as Title VI policy, and it comes out of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So a question you may be asking is why, if this was passed in 1964, are we having to do something about it now? And I think the simple answer is MnDOT is now starting to enforce this. We are a subrecipient of federal funds. As you know, we receive federal funds from time to time to reconstruct our roads. So this is a federal law that if you receive any federal money, you have to have these non-discrimination policies in place. In practice, I will say these are things that we're already doing. This Title VI requires us to put specific language into our bidding proposals for construction projects, saying that we're not going to discriminate against all those things. And I'm not going to list them all, but the typical non-discrimination classes. So these are things that we're already doing. We just don't have a documented policy that's required. So the first thing I'm asking you to do today, I guess, is just by a motion and a vote, is to designate the county highway engineer position as the delegated authorized official for the Public Works Department. And I'll clarify that this is Federal Highway Administration dollars, and so that's why it's specific just to the Public Works or Highway Department. So by designating the county engineer as that authorized person, it's just for Highway Department or federal highway funded projects. It doesn't relate to the whole county or some of the other programs that the county does that uses federal money. So if you do that, authorize the county highway engineer as that authorized official, the first thing that we would do is, I would, as the county highway engineer, sign this Title VI assurances document that was included in your packet. Mm-hmm. And it just says that we are going to do all these things and comply with Title VI. The next thing that will be forthcoming is an actual policy document. That's this first document that's, even though it's several pages with appendices, it's just an assurance document saying that, okay, when I sign that, I'm saying that the highway department from now on going forward will apply or comply with Title VI provisions. Then there is a document that I am working on right now. I don't have it finished for today's meeting, but there's an actual policy saying how we will comply. Fortunately for me, MnDOT's Office of Civil Rights has provided a lot of template documents for all of its counties to use. This is something that we really need to get going because we do have some federal funds we're supposed to receive next year. We're hoping to receive more in the future. With something that should have been done last year, and I apologize that it didn't get done last year, but now is kind of the crunch time for me to get into gear and get this going.
All right, any questions for Chris? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
We gotta do it.
Do you need a motion on this?
Yes, we do.
I'll make a motion that we designate our county engineer to be the signee on title non-discrimination policy.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you.
What was it, 4 minutes?
Yeah,
That
that's
was quick.
awesome. All right, Commissioner meeting updates. Would like to start. Commissioner Kapinski.
I'll go quick, cause mine didn't have a lot. We had our District 5 meeting, at Sauk Rapids. That went really well. I had, a St. Cloud APO meeting that I attended. It's, kind of a slower time there. We did put together we voted on our road package and our projects or 5-year, road plan. Then we had the ATP meeting. Chris Bird was on that with me as well. not a lot of earth shattering stuff there. It was, they cut it down a half an hour because there wasn't much on there, so. But it was still 2 hours, so. Other than that, I was not able to join Micah because I was on the emergency management board and we were, voting on the budgets. So,
Okay.
that's all I had.
All right, Commissioner Pop?
Yeah, well, the only thing I had other than the district meeting and things that we were all there was, we had a Micah executive meeting. Before the regular meeting, we had affirmed that we would pay the employees for Juneteenth. And then they're gonna work on family medical leave, just as we seen today for the cost. We're gonna be, August is gonna be virtual, and then we're gonna go to September in-person meeting for that. And then when they're looking at a, space needs, because since they remodeled at, the Radisson and St. Paul, it's gotten kind of expensive, and I guess there's a lot of places available within walking distance of the Capitol right now. So we're gonna be looking at space needs. One other thing we're looking at is that Anoka County has been working on coming back to Micah, I guess. They're seeing all the benefits of Dakota, Scott, Washington, all of them are getting, and they're kind of getting the same benefits, but yet they're not invited to the table on some of the stuff. So I think that's a good sign, we get, granted, we're the smallest county, but I think we're kind of, what would you say, hanging on to the shirt tails. We're getting some of this stuff that we probably wouldn't get with the larger counties that are there. So I think that's good. And then a lot of their stuff was just updates from what we seen when Micah was here that day.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schlangen?
See, I went to the Minden Township meeting, just talking about, roads that they're working on this summer, and, I was at the District 5. And then Career Solutions, we had a meeting. Nothing real major, they adopted all the policies. And I think that, I've got something for Chris. Do you know about the Transportation Alliance Federal Grants Workshop?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm registered for that.
Okay,
I'll be attending it.
that's about it.
Okay, Commissioner Heinen?
Okay, yes, I was not able to make the District 5 meeting, and then the only one I had was Career Solutions. We had our annual meeting.
All right. Just wanted to highlight our employee lunch. I think it was a good turnout. I think we served roughly 150 employees, plus or minus. So we had a good day for that. Hats off to Commissioner Kapinski, organized a lot of this. I know he picked up the product and did a lot of that for us in the background, so I appreciate that. Had a planning commission meeting on June 8th. We extended a conditional use permit for Reliastone up by Rice. There was also a conditional use permit request for an accessory building. I was able to attend the district meeting. I thought it was well attended. Commissioner Pop and I were one of the first ones there, and there were very few tables and chairs set up, so they had to do something in a hurry for the people that were there. So we had good attendance at that. And then was able to attend the extension committee meeting last week, and it was I would say our typical update meetings from the staff. So that went well. That's all I had. We're gonna move into general comments by commissioners. Any comments? All right, set committee of the holes. Monty?
Is Roxanne with us virtually? That she can identify some dates? Looks like Michelle and Roxanne. We're going to have a cow on this the public. Roxanne, did you have a suggested date for us? Nice.
Not sure why my camera's not working, but can you hear me?
We can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Regarding the cannabis,
Yes, please.
Gone the 9th through.
my schedule's fairly open. I guess it would probably be more Michelle's schedule.
Of course. Yeah.
When did you say you're gone?
Did you throw out a date? I'm sorry.
We have not.
We didn't. How about, are we looking at next week then?
We're probably gonna be into July.
I'm hearing we're going to be into July.
Commissioner Heinen, you said you're gone the week of the 10th?
Yep.
Okay.
You know, I've got a note here that there was discussion about having a committee of the whole on NextEra Solar to coincide with the first regular meeting in July, Wednesday, July 5th. Is it possible we could include this topic with a committee of the whole on Wednesday, July 5th? I mean, it's a lot for one day, but this is, again, the note that I have from Beth is there was discussion about having a solar committee of the whole.
Did we
I will
set
be
that?
at the office.
You'll be
Oh,
out?
sorry,
Okay.
Michelle's out, okay. Yep. Scratch that.
That whole week too, supposedly. My wife told me.
Are we gonna get into the week of the 17th probably? Commissioner Heinen's got on the week of the 10th.
Monday the 17th.
Day 17.
Yeah,
I may have a conflict that morning, but if that works for the rest of you, it's fine.
We push it later in the morning, does that help?
It would have to be late
Or
morning
late?
for me.
How about that? I'd hate to see you miss it, Commissioner Johnson. Perhaps we could accommodate.
this is pretty important.
Yeah, it's a pretty
What,
big
do
subject.
we know what we have this far out to our county board meeting on July 18th? Do we have any idea how full the agenda is that day?
I'm sorry, I don't, yeah.
I already have a call set on that day too.
The 18th
Yep,
of July.
that's what I got.
Chris?
I just wanted
That's,
to, if
really
you,
nice.
if you will, Mr. Chair, we mentioned NextEra. I had some correspondence, July 18th. We were anticipating July
July
18th
18th,
after
that's
the
what I
regular
got
board
too.
meeting.
Yep.
Have a work session with them. I don't think we officially set that. That was the direction last meeting,
Yep.
and I confirmed with them, so.
Okay,
So they will be in person. NextEra will be here in person on
So
July
the 18th works then?
What's that?
The 18th works?
Correct, for
Okay.
them, so.
or a call with them after our board meeting.
Yes.
So then we would do the cannabis public use issue and then next year on the 18th at the conclusion of county
That
board.
work for everybody?
Yeah, just make a day of it.
That works.
That works, Michelle?
Okay, so
Okay,
say
Roxanne.
approximately 10:30-ish or so, 11.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
So that's all we had then, those two subjects.
Okay, it's just to verify then, July 18th, after a regular board meeting, we'll
Yes,
have
sir.
a call with NextEra and
Yes.
also the cannabis issue.
Yes, so approximately 10:30 or so, yeah,
Okay.
11.
Motion to set the committee of the whole as
Second.
stated.
Okay, motion and a second to set the cows. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed or carried? Any other items come before the board? Before we move into ditch authority, we will take a few minute recess. All right, we are adjourned at 10:53. We'll take a 5-minute